Welcome to Spotlight on Frazee. I'm your host, Hank Ludke, and we're here today with Terry Shannon. Howdy, Terry.
How you doing today, Hank?
Tremendous. What's this beast here? It looks something like, the Enterprise, and I'm waiting for Captain Kirk to beam us aboard or something.
Actually, compared to today's technology, that's a pretty old metal detector, but that's my pride and joy. I spent a lot of time with this, and it's a mine lab, Explorer 2, it's just a real sophisticated machine. It goes out there, it will find anything underneath the coil, and it'll go down about 12 inches for coins and stuff like that. Okay. This little thing here is, when I get a signal, as I dig down to recover it, once I get the hole open, I'll just hit this little switch here, take this out, put it down in a hole, and that's another little detector in itself.
Oh, okay.
So like when I'm in a yard, I want to be very careful. I don't want to dig big holes in a person's yard. So what I'll do is make a horseshoe shaped cut, flip the sod over, have a little towel there, put the dirt on it, and then stick this down there and locate the item. And when I get done, and I put the dirt back, flip the sod back in place, you can't even tell I've been there. But it's a lot of fun. I've spent a lot of hours with this machine, and it certainly paid for itself. And money isn't the issue. I'm just having, there's a very great value on having fun, and that's what I'm doing out there. And I found some interesting things out in town.
Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go.
I think one of the most interesting things, excuse me here, but one of the most interesting things I found in this town is a couple of years back, right off Main Street here, they put in a new alley, and they cut the dirt.
Endeavor Road now.
Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
Okay, well, they cut it down a couple feet, and I found this statue. It's a statue of Christ, and it's got the heart on the outside. I don't know if that, some people said that's significant, other people I'm not sure. But right beside it, I found this coin. It's a dime, and the coin's dated 1875. So I think that kind of dates the statue. I believe they're both about the same age, because they were right close together. It wasn't just a couple feet of each other at the same depth. 1875, that's 22 years before Frazee was a town. So finding something like, we were incorporated before that, but we were, establishing. So here's a statue and a coin found in town 22 years before the town was in place.
Boy.
So it's kind of neat. Some of the other stuff, we find, different things, and here's a couple watch fobs. And they're President Taft, and they're kind of interesting. Apparently whoever, I believe Taft was the Republicans, whoever owned that property had to be along those lines, but both of these were found up by Daggett's, Daggett's place, right beside, and they're President Taft, And, another interesting thing other than the coins we find are old dog license. Here's one from 1920. They were licensing dogs here in Frazee in the 1920s. Here's another one dated, 1924. And I actually found one dog license that was dated 1898, and it's probably the biggest mistake I ever made. I traded it to a collector for a 1884 gold coin. And the gold coin was like $280. Well, I could have bought a gold coin, but I'll never be able to, replace that dog license. I wish I'd never done that. Some of the coins that you find, and it's interesting. Louisiana Purchase, this is part of the property. Frazee is right in the Louisiana Purchase. But in the old days, and these facts, I'm not 100% sure on it, but this is what I believe, is there was some confusion in the Louisiana Purchase. We bought every land west of the Mississippi. Well, in this area here, they confused the Mississippi and the Red River.
Yeah.
And so there was kind of a struggle on who owned our area here, our valley, and so as a result, we got settled later than a lot of places.
Yeah. I know that at one point it was called the Great American Desert, and by a person who had never been here. And I'm trying to remember which one of whether it was Sibley, who had said, well, there's nothing there, but he'd never been here. He never got this far up, but he made maps of the area that he hadn't been to.
Okay, well, I'm sure, so he missed out. Frazee is a wonderful, wonderful place.
Yeah, and with that, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with Spotlight on Frazee. Welcome back to Spotlight on Frazee. I'm your host, Hank Ludke, and I'm here yet with Terry Shannon. You know, we were just talking about the Louisiana Purchase and some of the confusion that were going on, and these are some interesting coins here, you know, that 1828 there. And
yeah, it's really a fascinating hobby. I really enjoyed it. And it's amazing, you know, in the old days they had 2-cent pieces, they had 3-cent pieces, they had a half dime. You know, it's some interesting currency that we had, and we got, you know, you don't find a lot of it, but in the old days, you know, a coin like this is large cent, you know, in those days, this was dated 1846, you know, that was probably, you know, I know it was at least a day's wages, maybe even a week's wages, so there was some pretty close. Here's a half cent, you know. I wonder what that would buy today, a half cent.
Nothing, I don't think.
You know, and you know, there's a lot of stuff there. The old V nickels. This one's dated 1868. There's a couple of them right here. You know, the nickels. Now we have the one. Well, the nickels before that were the old buffalo nickels with the Indian head and the buffalo in the back, and then before that was these shield nickels, and these are actually before that. They're a different type of shield. They have the V nickels and then the shield nickels. So these are interesting. Here is a half dime. Where is it? Right here. A little half dime. I don't know if you can see it, but it's not quite as big as a dime, you know. And you know, I just find that stuff interesting.
So you got a 3-cent piece there.
Yeah, the 3-cent pieces. Now these, there's two types of 3-cent pieces that they had. One was silver, and the other is some type of alloy that you know, the detector will pick it up, but it kind of reads just like junk. So on these 3-cent pieces, actually, what I did is when I found, I know one for sure, I found it was a new penny. You know, a regular new penny, and it was a big lump of dirt, and then I opened up the rest of the dirt because there was a signal there, and it was the 3-cent piece. So it was just something you don't find an awful lot of. But you know, there's a lot of history, and the silver today, you know, all our coins were silver up until 1964. Yeah. So a dime now today is worth about $2.20 just for a dime. You know, it's really interesting. You know, and some of these coins I actually find in the water. I look for old swimming holes and things like that, and I'm always looking for a place to go. You know, so if anybody is watching this and is interested with their yard, I'd be glad to come out and look for them. You know.
Yeah, you know, and I know you find so much. And what I think is great about it is that it does tell a story about people that came through here. You know, and boy, I just think of how many people in those days that lost these coins a couple of days or even later on that day are wondering, boy, I lost all that money, you know, and you may be looking at a quarter or a dime or you know, at all that money, you know.
A lot of coins you'll find actually with a hole in it, where they will drill a hole and you know, and wear them around their necks, you know, because they don't want to lose it. And they started on the coins putting a little reeded edge on the edge of it, because in the old days the silver was so valuable that they would shave the edge of the coins and then counterfeit different coins. But here's kind of interesting. These are all silver dimes, you know, and silver that I found. And I was showing my granddaughter this years ago. And I said, these are all old coins. You know, my granddaughter's name is Shannon. I said, Shannon, these are really old. And I had put it in a book that I used years ago when I was a salesman. And she said, Grandpa, your book is awfully old, too, 1964. You know, so, you know, I just told her, I said, well, your grandpa's awful old also. You know?
Well, Terry, I appreciate you being on the program. And it's so interesting to look at this stuff, so.
Well, thank you for having me, Hank.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, we'll always have you on again because I know every year you find more things. So we'll be back next week with another episode of Spotlight on Frazee.